Step out of the box. Press the mental reset button. Think less about the perfect swing that you need to take and more about the adjusted swing you need to make. Welcome back to the podcast, episode 7 here. We're going to keep it rolling. And this one is all about learning how to use that reset button. And a lot of us don't even know we have one. What is that reset button? What are we even talking about here? And the first thing that comes to mind for a ball player, right, baseball player, softball player, is we link our at-bats together far too often. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when at bat number 1 doesn't go our way, we immediately take at bat number 2 and we've linked it to at bat number 1. And then we start linking them all together, and one at bat turns into 2 at bats, turns into 3 at bats so easily and far too often. And so we're linking our at bats together in a negative way. And so when this happens, we need to learn how to hit the reset button. And we got to learn how to do this from game to game, but we really need to learn how to do this from at bat to at bat. And if I could take it a step further to even be more advanced about this and just more particular, press the reset button after each pitch when you need to, within the at bat. And that's the beauty of getting 3 strikes. You take a bad swing for the first pitch, press the reset button, figure out what you have to adjust for that next pitch. You're going to be fine. A lot of the times we take one bad swing where the first pitch is a strike on the corner. Maybe we think it's a ball and it was a bad call, and we're already in a negative mindset because of that. And the at-bat's not over with. And that just cannot happen to us mentally. When you're in good momentum and you're really feeling it, right? You're feeling hot with the bat. That's when you can stay in that momentum. That's when you can stay in a good flow state of taking one at bat to the next, right? Absolutely stay in a good momentum and a good rhythm. We talked about this last episode. Stay in a good positive state when you're feeling it, when you're getting those hits and you're squaring the ball up well. And it can apply for any sport, right? If you're a shooter in basketball and you're feeling hot, or you're making shot after shot, you got the hot hand, stay in that flow, stay in that rhythm, right? Keep repeating. You're a quarterback and you're making good throw after throw and you're feeling it, stay in that flow. You're a golfer making good shot after good shot, stay in that flow. It applies to all sports, right? Apply it to your sport, apply it to your position. Get really specific about it. Apply it to you personally. Think right now and pause the podcast. How does this apply to you and what you're doing in your sport right now today? And so use that in a positive way when you're feeling it. But more times than not, here's what we really need. We need to learn how to press the reset button when we're failing. We need to learn how to press that button when we're in a funk. And if you're a ball player, right, my baseball players and softball players, this is the game of failure. Okay, even the best are going to fail 70% of the time. Good batter batting 300 is only getting 3 hits out of 10. You're failing 70% of the time. So what tool do you need more? You need the reset button more often than not. And so learn how to use it. I'm sure I got a lot of gamers playing PlayStation at home. And what happens when your system freezes? Do you sit there and wait for it to unfreeze all day? Or do you go to the back of the system and press the reset button? Right? We got to use this in the game. Use this in real life. Hitters, getting into a slump has everything to do with this. We don't know how to hit the reset button. And sometimes we got to learn what our adjustments are. And we're not making those adjustments. But again, that's totally related to this reset button that you're not hitting. You're not able to adjust and make a change compared to what you're doing. Right? Because one of the hardest things to watch is a player making the same mistake over and over again because they haven't made any change. And so what is going to change if you're not taking a different swing, right? If you're constantly missing the ball because you're late, or you're constantly missing the ball because you're under it, and you're not making that adjustment, it's no surprise that nothing's changing. It's no surprise that these at-bats are starting to all look the same. And so step out of the box, press the mental reset button. Think less about the perfect swing that you need to take and more about the adjusted swing you need to make. All right, I'm going to say that again. It's less about being perfect and more about the adjustments. If you could have that swing back, what's the one thing you would do differently? What's the one thing you would change? And so those are the things that are going to make a difference on the field. Golfers, you have one bad slice. What's the one swing adjustment you need to make for the next one? Quarterbacks, you make one bad throw. You miss a guy high. What's the one adjustment you need to make for the next one? In-game adjustments are different than these in-practice adjustments. I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. If I'm a quarterback, a receiver, a hitter, a golfer, a shooter, it could be any sport here. Let's just use the quarterback one first. I'm a quarterback and I'm missing throws in the practice session for whatever reason it is. It could be mechanical. When you are in practice, you have a 2-hour practice usually to fix that. Or if you're doing a drill and that drill's 30 minutes, let's just say you got all that time to work on the mechanics needed to adjust that. It's the same with a golfer hitting the ball in the same spot. Oh, I keep slicing it, or I keep hooking it, or I keep blading it, topping it, whatever it is. Right? You have all this time to get reps and reps and reps to start figuring that out. Right? A hitter, if you are constantly getting jammed, they're constantly hitting the ball off the end of your bat, you have time in your hitting session. You got a half hour, 45 minutes in your hitting session or your hitting lesson to work on that with your coach or instructor and figure it out. If you're a shooter in basketball and for whatever reason you keep pulling up short, you have time to figure out maybe what you're doing in your mechanics, if you're not using your legs or whatever it may be mechanically that you need to make an adjustment on. Let's go back to the example of being a hitter in the box in the game. And so for whatever reason you're missing the ball. Well, when you miss the ball and the ball's back to the pitcher, how much time do you really have to think about your adjustment? You got 10 seconds, 15 seconds or less to make that adjustment. And so when you're in a practice session, you got 30 minutes to figure out what you're doing wrong. It is completely different in the game where now you got 10 seconds, 15 seconds to figure it out. And so if you can take that information, what does that mean for you? Well, you better simplify what the adjustment is. You're not breaking down the whole swing in the matter of that time. You're not thinking about anything other than one thing. And so, for example, if you know you're dropping your hands, well, work on that. Work on keeping your hands up. Keep your hands up higher, take a higher path to the ball. If you know you're late, work on being early. Work on getting your front foot down earlier. Taking an earlier step, being ready to hit the ball more out in front, right? That's going to help your timing to be early for the pitch and to be able to catch that ball with your barrel out in front. But those adjustments can be made in the matter of seconds because that's one quick adjustment. And you know what it is to fix because you've had to do it before already in practice. That's not a foreign adjustment to you. That's something you've already been very, very familiar with. And so we forget that in the game. Or at least it appears to me like all kinds of guys are forgetting that. We need to make sure we're making quick, simple adjustments in the game. They're not the same adjustments that we're making in practice. Two totally different things. Right? And so just the concept of time alone is important to understand that as an athlete. Right? How am I going to give myself the best chance in these next 10 to 15 seconds to make an adjustment? Same thing with a golfer. They have one bad shot off the tee box. By the time you get up to that ball, and maybe you got to drop the ball in a drop area, but you don't have a ton of time to figure out what it is you're going to do differently. And so what is the one adjustment you're going to make? And so if we really summarize this, you're only doing two things throughout your whole career. Listen closely. You're doing two things throughout your whole career. You're repeating or you're adjusting. You're repeating when you're succeeding or you're adjusting when you're failing. You're in those two lanes. That's it. And it branches off of it a little bit more if you're making an adjustment. All right, so let's take you through a scenario here. You are in your first at bat and you hit a line drive up the middle, base hit single. What are you doing for your second at bat? Well, there's nothing to adjust. You're repeating. So you're in a repeating stage there. And let's take it to another game where your first at bat is a strikeout. Or you get out, it's a pop out to the infield, whatever it is, right? So you didn't get a hit, you're making an adjustment, you're in an adjustment phase, And then the branch off of that is what is the adjustment, right? And that's where we get lost. Sometimes when we fail, we just think we need to be better and we don't know what we need to change. That's a huge, huge mistake. It's not always about just being better. It's usually about what is the one particular adjustment that I need to change to get better. What's the one thing I need to do to get back on track? And so for this hitter example, if I pop up to the infield, I know I'm on the bottom half of the ball. My adjustment for my second at bat is to have more of a focus on the top half of the baseball. And I see it I've seen this for years in the lesson cage and in the game and in practice. Right, more times than not, when you're under the ball and you're focusing on the top half of the next one, you actually hit the middle. You actually hit the middle. You don't hit a ground ball, you hit a line drive. And even if you do make the right adjustment and hit the top half of the ball and ground out, you can live with that adjustment. You don't want to be comfortable. You don't want to live with the same result 2 times in a row, the same exact thing. So for example, a hitter that pops up at bat 1 and then also pops up at bat 2, that's the guy or girl that needs to be kicking themselves saying, why did I not make the proper adjustment? A hitter who pops up at bat 1 and has a hard ground out in at bat 2 has done their job. That is excellent. I know it doesn't sound happy or like satisfactory because now you're 0 for 2, but that is doing your job. Because again, in reality, if you have that approach, I promise more times than not, your second at bat will actually be a hit. You're actually going to find the middle of the ball. And I can't even totally explain it. All I can tell you is what I've witnessed over just a lifetime of playing baseball, playing and coaching. So I've been a hitter and I've experienced this myself. That's where I probably first really understood this. And then I just fully understood it at a deeper level being a coach, seeing it, not being the person in the box, but then just seeing it like I'm watching a movie where it's just now it's even more clear because you're outside looking in of what's happening. And that's what happens more times than not. And I really believe this to be true for any other sport, any other position, right? Making the adjustments. Talked about a quarterback missing high on a throw, right? Being able to adjust and bring that ball down for the next one. It's a simple adjustment, and it's something that if you just can keep it at that level in game, it's so much easier to get back on track, right? That's the slumps. When a player is in a slump, hitting, when a player is in a funk, quarterback missing throws, receiver can't catch the ball, one drop turns into 2, turns into 3. Golfer, one bad shot turns into 3, 4, 5. Basketball player, one miss turns into they can't make a shot for the next 7, 8 shots. It's so relatable. It's all the same stuff. What's the one simple adjustment for the next rep? What is the one simple adjustment for the next rep? And have you committed fully to the adjustment? Not being a hero, not hitting the home run to save the day in one swing, not hitting a home run that's 8 runs, because that's impossible. And I see it all the time. Teams down 10 runs, and we're trying to take one swing that's going to change the whole game. And it could be the absolute same for a quarterback playing hero ball, a golfer trying to hit a hole-in-one, a basketball player trying to take over a game when really they need to be doing their job and doing their responsibilities of being the distributor as the point guard. It's so relatable to all sports. What's the one simple adjustment to get you back on track? So I'm going to wrap it up with that for this one. Again, I just want to summarize. You're either repeating if you're succeeding or you're adjusting if you're failing. And if you need to adjust because you're failing, branch it off from there. What is your one adjustment to make? And keep it as simple as that. That is something you can take with you your whole career, no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are, no matter what level. I promise the guys at the pro level in all sports are applying this simple mindset and this simple approach the same way.